Today's episode of the BS Podcast with Key and Peele is brought to you by SeatGeek, our presenting sponsor and the only fan-friendly app for buying and selling tickets for sports and music. You might have noticed other sites have gone back to the same old tactic of showing you a lower price and then charging huge fees at checkout. But at SeatGeek, the price you see is always the price you pay. Drop your old site and experience buying and selling tickets the way it should be to start using SeatGeek. Download the free SeatGeek app or go to SeatGeek.com. Today's episode is also brought to you by Untuckit.com. They make shirts that are specifically designed to be worn untucked. It's the only choice for the untucked man. Visit Untuckit.com and learn why GQ called them perfection. You can even use the promo code BS15 for 15% off all of your purchases. That's Untuckit.com, promo code BS. And 3 other house cleaning things I want to mention before we get to Key and Peele. First, the second episode of After the Throne starts streaming on HBO Now at midnight PT on Sunday night. So that's 2 hours after the West Coast version of Game of Thrones finishes airing. And then it reruns on HBO, the actual HBO, at about 1 o'clock a.m. on the following night. Second, don't forget to subscribe to The Ringer's new newsletter at theringer.com. We've also been posting additional Game of Thrones content and NBA playoffs content on our Facebook page. Check that out, facebook.com/ringer. Some good stuff on there. And third, last but not least, we have a title and a date for my new HBO show. It's called Any Given Wednesday with Bill Simmons, and it premieres June 22nd on HBO. One more time, Any Given Wednesday with Bill Simmons, June 22nd. 10 p.m. Wednesday, because that's in the title, so it has to be Wednesday. And it's going to be on HBO. That is right after the NBA Finals ends and right before the NBA draft. So I think it's a pretty safe bet. We'll be talking a little NBA in that first show. Very, very excited. There's been a lot of work and a lot of blood, sweat, and tears going into this thing. We're excited to finally have something to show you and to officially really be part of HBO. So I'm looking forward to that. And now, without further ado, Key and Peele, let's roll.
Yeah. Clear enough for you? All right. Yeah.
Well, this is exciting.
All right.
Keegan Michael Key.
How you
Jordan
doing?
Peele.
Hey, Bill.
How are you?
We're doing great, man.
Great to see you.
Great to see you. Great to finally, yeah.
I spent last night, at least part of last night, in the bathtub watching your movie on my iPad.
No, wow.
So then
Does
I
that
was
make
like,
you
this
feel-
is weird. So I got out of the bathtub.
You gotta get out.
I was going to say, does that make you feel alive, though, watching it in the bathtub? Going,
Yeah.
At any point in time, I could drop this in here and either electrocute myself or completely ruin this expensive
Either
piece of
way.
equipment.
There's
Either
a
way,
fear
no.
factor
Yes,
to it.
yeah.
That was
Right.
good. No, it's. I had no idea what to expect. I intentionally tried not to read anything.
All right.
And-
So you saw it green.
Initially, it was like Keanu, and when I first heard about it, I'm sure a lot of people told you guys this. I was thinking like, Keanu Reeves? Like, are they?
what's going on?
And then it's like, no, there's a cat. I'm like,
Yeah.
all right, I'm staying out. I just want to be surprised,
Yeah, what we like
which
to
is the
do
right way to watch
We
it.
like to piggyback on the name of a bigger star.
Smart.
Stand on his shoulders, get everyone's attention, then hit him with the
Right.
kitten. Then lastly, we say, and Key and Peele are in it as well.
Yeah.
Have you heard from Keanu Reeves about this? Has he said anything? Has he mentioned anything?
We have.
We have.
What did he say?
Well, first he loved the trailer.
He loved the trailer. Yep, he loved the trailer. And then
I believe he said
he
these
said,
guys are wacky.
"Oh, these guys are wacky." Yeah, so that's what he said.
Wacky.
And he goes, "These guys are very good and they're totally wacky."
You're just whacked out.
Yeah, and he kept on saying, which is not a word I would ever expect to hear come out of Keanu Reeves' mouth. So I take it as a real compliment
Yeah,
that
I
he,
mean,
that
that
he
must-
said we were wacky. That was the word he used.
It's got to be, yeah.
I'm debating how much we should. I don't want to spoil too much.
Yeah,
But I will say this
Well-
movie was a tiny bit on John Wick's corner.
You know, it's
As somebody who's watched John Wick maybe,
Me
I don't
too.
know, 27
I think I've
times on
seen
HBO.
John Wick maybe 26 times.
Is there a more rewatchable? There's just
It's
a lot of
super
murders.
rewatchable movie.
rewatchable movie.
Anytime Lance Reddick appears in the movie, I go, "Oh, here we go. Here's another Lance Reddick part." I don't know what it is about that movie, but it's
Mr.
got
Wick.
super
Yeah.
rewatchability to it. Yeah.
But this movie was no joke. Had nothing to do with John Wick and its conception.
No, you were like years ago.
We wrote the script when John Wick came out. I was like trying to get my lawyers involved. I was like, who let my idea leak? Somebody took the comedy out of my idea.
Yeah.
And made an awesome action movie out of it, and they beat me to the punch. But no, it turns out it's this happy accident, and I kind of wish the movie was a parody off of that, because I feel like that's actually a cooler story.
Hey, I mean, it's about as early of a parody
as you could possibly do.
I'm still digesting John Wick.
Yeah, we'd be bending time to make that parody. Yeah.
It was like a precog parody.
He said it. I love it. My man said precog.
So this must be an insane 10 days for you guys, because, I mean, your show was so popular. But, when your TV, your cable, YouTube views, all that stuff, you can kind of gauge all that stuff. But when you put a movie out into the world, it's just totally different. It's a different process. Mm-hmm. You're just being judged solely by Rotten Tomato scores and grosses and first opening weekend, all stuff that's pretty foreign, I would guess, right?
Yeah, there's a real weird, not weird, but a strange feeling of, with our show, I felt that for the most part, it was a lot big show, little business, because Comedy Central left us alone. And with movies, it's definitely little show, big business, that you get all the metrics and you get all the diagnostics and you're getting all these vital statistics, and you kind of go, I don't really even know what to make of them. But the tour has been good. But even on the tour, you're in isolated cities. I mean, we've been in, I think, 6 cities in 10 days. And you're seeing the support, but there's no possible way for you to see millions of people at the same time and go, oh, that's all the fans that are going to, and then of those people who are going to go pay for the ticket and all that kind of stuff. It's a little overwhelming. And how different it is.
I mean, I think we kind of feel like we already won in that we got to make a movie we wanted to make. Yeah. And we like this movie. And we
you got somebody to pay for your movie.
Somebody paid for our movie, and we love it. And so, there's an element of if I think it'll do great, but even if it takes people a while to find it, and it becomes more of a cult hit or success. I mean, that either road I think is a win, and but I think the vibe we're getting is people are going to come out.
And I think
you're going to be fine.
Yeah, I mean, I hear what you're saying, Jordan. Like if a few select people, and I've heard other artists say this, if a few select people who you respect deeply find the work that you did beloved, that can be a big thing. And you can go wherever, however the success lies. But from what we've experienced, I feel like it could be this could work out to be a great word of mouth project. So that people will go, oh no, you've got to see it. It's not what you think it is. Mm-hmm. And then somebody else goes, oh no, I saw it. And you'll never believe it. It was this, and I thought it was that, and it was better. That's your hope. But if it happens organically, that would be nice to know. Yeah. That it.
I mean, what sucks? It sucks when you make something that you don't like, and watching something like that is painful in success or failure. So
do you have an example? Is there something that you look back now and you're like, God?
There's always a sketch that didn't turn out right here or there. I mean, this is our first movie, so this is all new. But there's all
I meant more with this, some sketch you guys just man, we blew that.
I mean, it's hard to remember. You literally if you don't like a sketch, you bury it in the deepest recesses of your mind.
Like me, with a bad column or something. Yeah.
Oh, sure. Why did I write that? Yeah. Why was I pandering?
It doesn't even exist anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, it's sketch is so weird and tricky. You can predict it to a certain point, and then there's something that you felt easy to us that will take off enormously, and something that feels extremely difficult that. For whatever reason, it just won't resonate.
Right, like you can put your everything into it, and say, this was meticulous and it was edited perfectly and everything went the way we wanted it to go, and then it just duds, and you're going, huh? Mm-hmm. And then we've had sketches where on set, Bill, we didn't know the ending of the sketch, we just kind of meandered, and then the editor puts it together. And it's like it was magic. And you would never know, because when you're watching it as the viewer, you're going, that's brilliant. look at these choices they made, and we're just going, oh, whew. It's not a science. There's craft, but it's not a science.
But for you guys do, like with sketches, it's almost more fun for you guys. If something doesn't work, you learn from it and you apply it to the next thing and figure out, and you're taking chances. You know your batting average is going to be 1,000. But with a movie, you can't do that.
Right.
That's
Your
right.
movie, you
have to-
actually have to get on base in the movie.
Exactly.
Right.
And then so that's striking the balance of finding everything that you want personally to be in the project and have that somehow meet commerce. That's an art in and of itself.
Right.
And
All right, so you take 3 years, you said. Is it 3 years because you didn't feel like you could get this movie funded? Or you needed to reach a certain level of success and fame to get it funded? Or it just took 3 years?
It was the second one.
Yeah.
We wrote the script, and we wrote it knowing we were going to write our favorite movie here. Our favorite movie that doesn't exist. And we also knew we had, Key and Peele. At some point, there's going to be... Someone's going to get hip to the idea of Key and Peele should do a movie.
Yeah.
So we had a script. We had our favorite script ready when New Line came around, and then they loved it, and it all fell into place. There was never a point where this was a sort of a real trial. We had to put this up against the fire or go through any process. It found its home very organically.
So you start out with the idea, and then you have to write the movie. Like, did you have 2-3 things? You're like, all right, we're doing a movie. Here, let's start with these 3 things, and we'll go from there.
I mean, the thing was, the script was penned by myself and this guy Alex Rubens, who's a Key and Peele writer.
Okay.
And we very early on we were like, okay, we know we want to make write a movie for Keegan and I. Keegan, Alex, and I are huge fans of a type of action comedy we don't see made as much anymore.
It's the kind I grew up with, right? It's like
we're all of
the
an age.
Midnight Run's in my top 10. It's a
me
little
too.
bit
It's in my
Midnight
top
Run.
5. Midnight Run, yeah.
A little
right.
bit Pryor and Wilder, and
Brian, well, these are the things that we talked about. So we knew we wanted to make something that was very Key and Peele. So we said, all right, what if we put Key and Peele characters very close to ourselves in the genre of a movie from the late 80s, early 90s, your New Jack Cities,
your Speed,
yeah.
movies like that, but movies that have that sensibility of, if you think of a movie like Speed, Dennis Hopper, in the most delicious way, is chewing up the scenery.
Yeah.
And you get laughs organically from the way he's playing the character. And you might even be able to read that script, and there's not necessarily laugh lines in it. It's not a Mel Brooks film. But there's or a movie like The Last Boy Scout, which is commenting on movies like that have catchphrases.
And nobody
in them.
got it. Everyone was like too serious in 1990, 91.
Yeah.
Last Boy Scout was a better movie than I think we realized when it
yeah,
happened.
absolutely.
Everyone was
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
what is this?
Yeah,
it's a classic.
Because they were making that they were winking in the best way, but once again, the bullets are real.
Yeah.
And the violence is real, and the people are really getting hurt. It's not like Stroker Ace. It's not a Burt Reynolds movie, where the punches kind of like guys just recover and everyone's throwing each other around. It's not that schlocky thing that happened in the late 70s.
Yeah.
It was a reaction to that late 70s to late 80s thing, where you kind of said, let's make a movie like Bad Boys. Bad Boys is a movie, and tracking shots and jibs, but it's still hysterical.
It's a great movie.
Yeah.
And you're right. Speed is now a comedy.
Oh yeah.
22 years later, Speed is now.
But then look
a
at
comedy.
48 Hours is an action movie.
Yeah.
Right.
Marty Brest happened to cast this comedic genius named Eddie Murphy to play Reggie Hammond,
Who they almost fired.
and that
2 days in.
and that movie is, and like Nick Nolte's hilarious in that movie.
Jack Cates.
But there's no jokes. They're just hilarious, and so there's this wonderful tonal balance between comedy and action.
That's my favorite movie of all time, and every year I feel a little more guilty about it because it's like ridiculously racist, and I'm
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I thought Jack Cates was funny, and then now I watch, I'm like, Jesus,
He looks like the Jungle
this is
Bunny. That's right.
all these terrible words, but
I
he's great at it though.
I was flying on a plane because we've been flying so much recently, and the other morning before I took a little snooze on the plane, I watched 16 Candles.
Yeah.
And something one of our writers had said a couple years ago, I'd forgotten what Colton had said. It's very human. It's just that there's certain things that have changed in the society. Like the movie stands up. The movie stands up as a kind of a teenage romp or a teenage comedy.
I do feel like 48 Hours is kind of a reaction to a little bit of the prior Wilder movies. Merged with a cop movie, and then 48 Hours ends up influencing 10 years of movies, right?
Absolutely.
Lethal Weapon is basically, there are all these different movies that came out of that.
Yeah.
But what you guys did, one movie that brought back a little of that, and it's weird because it was 4 people in 2, but I thought The Hangover had some of that, where it's like normal people just thrust in a situation where it just goes horribly wrong, which, without giving up too much of Keanu, that's basically the movie is it starts out normal.
Real people in a heightened situation. Yeah.
Because I thought, like about 10 minutes in, I'm like, is this going to be a parody on people who love their pets too much?
Right.
Interesting.
I was like, oh, this is good. This is a whole commentary just making fun of all these crazy weirdos who talk to their dogs and kiss their dogs on the mouth. And
in some ways it is, you know,
It
there's
is.
like, you know, we like to make, we like to hit a bunch of,
you hit way more. My point is at 10 minutes, I was like, and then I was like,
it's this.
Oh.
Yeah. But the other thing that's interesting in the movie, I think in the beginning, is that Alex and Jordan have infused so much heart into the movie. It all hangs on Keanu. And so you're watching a guy who's in a lot of distress, and you're watching another guy who's trying to work through something, just like anybody.
Yeah.
Just like anybody. And I think that stuff stays intact throughout the movie, which I don't know if I've said this to you, but I just think is done with, it's done with Jordan so deftly. How you guys have managed to just work it through so that the humanity never goes away. Even when some of the behavior is weird or uncharacteristic of a person maybe you know, the humanity never goes away from the story. Ever, ever, ever. And you hang it on this kitten. And it's really... It's just really well done. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's like, it's crazy. It turns out that the hardest thing to do with writing a movie is keeping the drive of the audience, keeping the audience believing that the characters would do this thing, would put themselves through this, believing the motivation of the characters. So yeah, that was a tricky. It's a tricky tightrope walk.
But you cracked the nut, man.
All right,
that's the
cool.
thing.
Yeah, I feel it too. Yeah,
because as an actor, it was something you could play with relish.
So how like when do you get involved when they're working on the script and they're like slaving away in some office somewhere? Do you come in like are they sending you segments? Or are you just out and then you come in late? How does that work? Your partnership fascinates me.
Well, yeah, we were working on other things. I was acting in films, and I would come. I would leave during a hiatus and come back for work. And then one day, Jordan asked me. He said, "Look, Alex and I have been working on this thing." Like he said, it was spec. It was just a project. It was a project that they were working on together.
Right.
And he asked me, "Can we do this table read?" And so we did the table read. And after that, it was. I guess I would say I was relatively hands off. I have a deep respect for his mind. And so I know when he needs something from me, he comes to me. Otherwise, especially him and Alex working together, they're like a power duo. They're like force multipliers to each other. So like a nuclear reactor, for ideas. So I just knew when it's time for, what do you call it? The razzmatazz? When it's time for the razzmatazz, then I'm going to call Keegan for whatever this thing I need here. Because also, I come to every project as a performer.
Yeah.
My degree is in performance, and that's what I've always studied. I study performance and work at performance and see how an audience is reacting to performance or a viewer. And so I feel like that's where, if Jordan feels he needs that insight, he'll come to me. And now in certain aspects, like when we were writing the sketches, some sketches would just flow from us organically.
Yeah.
You know, there's an idea, and we just start using all of our improv tools.
So you guys are all spitballing with writers. Somebody throws out an idea, you go, and then do you guys go off together or do you go off separately? When you were writing that stuff, how did it work?
Happens all different ways.
Yeah.
It's all sketch specific. Sometimes a writer will have an idea and we'll say, yes, we love that, go write that. Sometimes I'll have an idea or Keegan will have an idea and we assign it to a writer. Sometimes I'll just write it myself. Sometimes we'll write it together. It's all over the place. Sometimes it's a group of people have to write a sketch together.
Yeah.
But it was very, it was extremely collaborative. There were many sketches that everybody got their hands on in some way.
Yeah, a bunch of different paths to the same place. Mm-hmm.
Like, all right, so take, I don't know, Black Ice. So you guys, like, take me from the beginning of that to when it becomes ready to go.
Black Ice, I believe, was the brainchild of this guy, Rich Tallarico.
Okay.
Had the nugget for the idea, which was just, the bit of the scene. And then from that, I'm sure he, we told him to do it. He submitted it. And then we go through it. We make notes. We figure out what's wrong with it, what's right about it. It gets put through a couple of drafts, and then we have the sketch. And then always on set, there's going to be more adjustments made and improv.
Yeah,
and stuff
and
like
we would very often take packets of sketches, a collection of sketches from different writers, and sit down and read the sketches, which I think is very invaluable, because once you feel it, when you read it, it's that gives you such a treasure trove of information, as to go, oh God, if I had never read it, I would have never known that word or that phrase was awkward in the mouth.
Yeah.
And that nobody would say that way, or a character wouldn't say that way. Let me change that. And you can see as the people are reading or we're reading the scripts and assigning characters to other people, and you're interacting with each other, you can see the writer furiously writing notes going, oh, that's how it sounds. Oh, I didn't think it would sound that way.
Did it always make sense which part each of you should play in the sketch? Or were there times where you were like up to the very end, you're like,
There's a couple that got swapped at the very end.
Really?
Yeah. But I think it was more. It had something. It would usually have more to do with something like balance than anything else. Like maybe there's a character. Maybe there's some kind of thing where it's like, well, I've played a woman twice this season, so I think we should be. That kind of thing.
Right.
But for the most part, it's pretty straightforward. It's pretty. It just makes sense.
Yeah, and especially the deeper we got into the seasons, because then, especially, we don't do what we have a different style of sketch than, say, the Nick Kroll show.
Yeah.
Which, where the Nick Kroll show, you would see there would be there were probably about 7 storylines, and he would always visit 2 to 3 of those storylines per show, and then also write individual sketches that were standalone. With us, we had way less recurring characters through I think the entire body of our piece. So maybe every 3 episodes you'd see recurring characters, and so we still had a stable of those characters, so that allowed us to know who was going to be cast in those. Or sometimes I think if we wrote a similar sketch, we'd say, well, this one we're going to have Keegan do this and Jordan have this, and then every now and again we go, you know what? Why don't we make that sketch? Let's make that sketch for these characters that already exist.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So when it's a partnership like that, I mean, everybody's got an ego, and you guys are always, it's just, Key and Peele. At some point, do you start feeling like I kind of want to be my own person a little bit while also having this thing? And when do you hit that point?
Well, I mean, we definitely have a world of projects that we want to do outside of Key and Peele.
Right.
But I think part of the secret of Key and Peele is that we and the writers, we have this improvisation background, and there's one of the things you work at hard in improvisation is to lose the ego in the creative process.
It's built into the fabric of the process.
Yeah.
So, and throughout our careers, it's any time you forego the feelings and the negative feelings and sidestep the ego.
That was my idea. No, I said it first.
If you get rid of that,
Yeah.
if you get rid of that, then it just you can make something much greater than any single person could make.
It's just this. You can bicker all you want about that was my idea or who had that line. Hey, guess what? Is the sketch funny? That's all that matters. All that matters is if the sketch is funny. The team is called Key and Peele. All the writers, the producers, the crew. That's Key and Peele. Mm-hmm. It's not this guy and that guy. So we're winning. Like we're winning. Everybody's winning. And at the end of the
ego plays tricks on you if you allow it. Because the ego would have you compare yourself to somebody. It's like if I were to compare myself to Keegan. And how he's doing ego wise. I mean, you could get so wrapped up in that,
right?
That you could never get out of it.
Yeah.
So you really do have to. Jim Henson had this whole philosophy about your ego has to be replaced with the ego of the show.
Yeah.
Right. We have to be. We'll all succeed if we make this thing gold, like Keegan
we
said.
had that at Grantland. I felt like
yeah.
there was a selflessness, which is really hard to get to with writers because writers are
precious about their
Their
work.
DNA is always going to be it's their byline. They want the credit, and especially by like year 3, we were able to get multiple writers just to write. We call them shoot arounds, but get people to contribute to the Oscars reactions and collaborate, and got to a point where people just felt like, if the site wins, we win. And that's why with this new site we're building, it's got to be the same philosophy. Like, you all win if the site's good.
The Henson
it's a hard place to get to.
Yeah, no, it is. It is if people won't buy in. Like, you have to figure out. There's another ingredient, and the ingredient is what makes you buy in. And I think the sports analogy, like the Jim Henson analogy, for me was Larry. Oh boy, his name just flew out. Who was the head coach of the Pistons when they won the last championship? Larry Brown. When Larry Brown got there, he had some relationships with those guys, so everybody else bought in. And when they went to the finals against the Lakers, it was, remember, it's 5 against 2.
Right.
There's no way we're not going to win the championship. It's 5 against 2. They're a mess over there.
Yeah.
We win because Shaq and Kobe have Achilles heels, and they're their egos.
Yeah.
We're a team. It's every night it's 5 against 2, and that's how they won that championship. So for us, I think everybody understood. It's almost like they're serving Key and Peele second, and we were serving the god of improvisation first.
Yeah,
which is, I'm a heel if I don't yes and the other people here. If I'm holding on to what I think my idea is, and I'm not open to anybody else's ideas, and I'm not going to let go of the reins, then you're, not to get too lofty, but you're dishonoring Del Close. You're dishonoring Viola Spolin. You're dishonoring the masters of improvisation, who are very sacred and important to us. These people have passed away and gave us these traditions. So don't, it's like, make an effort to do the best you can for the great spirits. It's like that feeling. And that was almost more important than Key and Peele. It's what makes Key and Peele work.
There's a great book about the first 5 years of Saturday Night Live. The first 10 years, actually. That came out, I think 30 years ago.
Yeah.
Before people realized that they shouldn't be that candid in the interviews. I think it was Saturday. I can't remember. It was Doug Hill and Jeff Weingrad, I think, were the writers. Mm-hmm. But a big chunk of it is about those first couple years, and they had that same spirit, that same camaraderie, but then Chevy Chase took off.
Yeah. And everybody's backs got up.
Yeah, and Belushi went crazy because he used to kill Chevy Chase for years in the National Lampoon, all the different things they did. He was the best. Like, when Belushi was on stage, you looked at Belushi.
Right.
And when Chevy Chase left, that's when, at least for a little while, they were able to become a team. And then, of course, Belushi and Aykroyd took off, and then it happens again. It's really hard in comedy because eventually somebody's going to, when you have an ensemble like that, that's why I thought what you guys did was pretty rare, because it was 5 years of it.
What Jordan said, too, is true. I mean, somebody, I don't know who this is, it's an anonymous quote, but comparison is the thief of joy. So we're not it's the other thing is recognizing what the dreams of the other people in your life are, and yes-anding those dreams, or supporting and buoying up their dreams. I'm very excited, extremely excited, to see this horror movie that Jordan wrote, that he directed, that you produced it as well. You're a producer on the movie. It's such a passion for him, and having spent so much time with him in my life, and seeing the glint in his eye when because he has an encyclopedic knowledge. He's a connoisseur of horror of horror as a genre and the subgenres therein. He knows all of it. He's like the way Mike Tyson knows boxing lore. This guy knows horror movies, and to see that.
Don't do anything like Mike Tyson.
to see those dreams, to see that dream come true for him, that's my joy. There's no joy in going, well, why didn't he cast me in the horror movie? There's not a part for you in the horror movie, Keegan.
Yeah.
He supports your dreams.
Right.
You support his dreams. What do I get from not supporting his dreams? Like what positive thing do I get? What benefit do I get from that?
Quick aside, where are horror movies going? Because horror movies always go, they do these cycles, and like Halloween launches this whole 5-6 year genre of the babysitter's dying, and then they go to the different, and then Scream brought some stuff back, and then you have the Saw era, and then you have like the Grizzly, then you have the Blair Witch era. I mean, there's all these different eras. So where are we now?
It's a good question. I predict a good amount of sci-fi horror blend. I think
sci-fi horror. I like it.
Interesting.
Good special effects.
Yeah, we're at an era where I think people are really interested in science fiction and the AI and the internet, and where is this all headed? Because it's been crazy. I mean, the last 10 years have just been a complete technological revolution
in a very creepy way. If you think about it,
and it feels very like we're headed to in this weird dystopia.
Did you see Unfriended?
I did see Unfriended.
It's on cable. Unfriended is good, but it's basically they're just all on like this Google chat.
Yeah.
But somebody that they had made fun of who killed themselves enters the chat and starts messing with them.
Oh, that's what it's about.
It's good.
It's pretty good. I gotta say.
Let me ask you two guys this, because I haven't seen it. What is the appeal, or what do you think made the film It Follows a good film?
Oh, interesting.
I think you told me that you had enjoyed it. You were captivated by it.
Yeah.
I thought it was excellent.
And you thought it was excellent too. And I've not yet seen it, and I wanted to know, because horror really gets me. My imagination gets a little too crazy, and so it's a little harder for me. But he knows enough to recommend certain types of horror movies to me, like The Babadook. I loved.
You love The Babadook.
But anyway, I'm sorry. I digressed from my own question. But
It Follows is really great in the spirit of the throwback. It's doing this early 80s thing. It's this John Carpenter thing.
Yes, that's why Halloween is in my pantheon. So that's why I liked it. It reminded me of like modern Halloween.
Totally. The soundtrack.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Had the theme of like, if you have sex with somebody in high school, you're going to pay for it. That was in there, which is that's a horror movie staple.
Total horror movie staple.
Moral staple. Yeah.
And it's beautifully shot too.
It is. Okay.
It looks gorgeous.
And
that's one of the keys with horror.
Yeah,
it costs nothing. But one of the keys with horror films, the ones that I've worked, is usually the ones that are well done have a better chance, and it sounds stupid, but like Halloween's a really well done movie. You watch it, it's like the shots he does and the way he uses shadows and lights.
There's a confidence with it too, and a knowledge that when all the pieces are put together, it's going to be very scary.
Right.
And because he's stringing together images. It's not a movie about revelation. It's not a movie about jump scares. It's all this pace and this creepy monster. It's like
it's one of those movies that sometimes I don't like when directors or creative people give interviews, because sometimes the mystery is better than the actual answer.
Totally.
When you read the John Carpenter, it's like, we initially thought it was going to be this, and we were doing stuff on the fly, and you realize like he was just had 20 days to make this movie about babysitters getting murdered, basically, and probably stumbled into some of it.
And this is why we love improvisation, is because I think it's such an important piece of anybody's creative process to be able to adjust towards the end, especially, and be able to sacrifice things that you thought were important and find new things. And so that's with what we do as Key and Peele, along with our director Peter Atencio, who also did Keanu. It's like that's part of our process is, we set ourselves up to succeed, but now let's get in there and let's find some more.
Before we go on with Key and Peele, a quick word about our friends at Squarespace. Building a website can be pretty daunting, whether it's a business site, a portfolio, a restaurant, whatever else. In this day and age, there is a ton of pressure to represent yourself in a way that looks good online. So thank God for our buddies at Squarespace. They build gorgeous websites for normal people who do not know how to build websites. Like my buddies Louis K. and Joe House. They both have Squarespace websites. Squarespace makes it easy regardless of skill level. No coding needed. Easy to use tools. State-of-the-art technology. 24/7 online support. And you get a beautiful website for only $8 per month. You even get a free domain if you buy Squarespace for 1 year. So why wait? Start your trial with no credit card required. Go to squarespace.com. Use the offer code BS for 10% off your first purchase. And since we're here, I wanted to mention the Books, which is going to be really important for you because Mother's Day is May 8th. And that's pretty soon. Yeah, I get it. It sneaks up on you every year. I have a mom. I have a stepmom. I have my wife, who's the mother of my kids. So, Mother's Day, you got to be prepared. You still have enough time to order Mom the best flowers of her life. You can do it from Books.com. Books flowers are, in a word, gorgeous. They are grown at eco-friendly farms on the side of a volcano. Seriously, a volcano. The blooms are larger, the colors are more vibrant, better soil, more sun. It's a whole lofty 10,000 feet thing. But you have to order from Books.com today because if you wait until the last second, you end up getting second-rate flowers. Seriously, it's happened to me. You get the bad ones. You gotta think ahead with flowers. And your mom will know, your wife will know, your stepmother will know, your girlfriend will know, your baby mama will know. They'll all know. Gorgeous flowers from the Books really do say, thanks, Mom. Thank you for everything you do. Or, thanks, honey. Thanks for raising our kids correctly. So what does it cost? Well, it's a mere $40. That's where the prices start at Books.com. No upcharges, no extra fees. Even delivery is absolutely free as long as you register with the Books. Listeners of the BS podcast save 20% off the bouquet of your choice. So just go to Books.com and enter promo code BILL. That's BOUQS.com. Promo code BILL. All right, back to Key and Peele. Where's improv in 2016 in the world of if you go one step over the line and you get the outrage culture maniacs after you and all that stuff, you could get in a heap of shit. Do you feel like people are more walking on eggshells a little bit now, or do people not even think about it and do what you do? In
regards to improv, I mean, the beauty is we can go anywhere and it'll be edited in a movie or something.
Yeah, but you could also be like on stage just fucking around with somebody and I don't know.
Oh, you're saying you're saying like in an improv scene, if somebody comes and sees a show and go, how dare you say that?
Yeah, or anything. Or even like some sketch that you're trying to get. I mean, your show's done now, but you're trying to get these things and it's up, and maybe you could have spent one more day thinking about whether you should do this, and then it's out in the world and everyone lines up on you.
We've been doing improv for a long time between the two of us, and I wouldn't say that we're in a different era necessarily than when we started, which was
I agree with
10
that.
to 15 years
I agree
ago.
that we're not in. I agree that we're in the same era.
Good.
But there's a politically correctness. The whole thing is you got to get the laugh. If you don't get the laugh, any place you go can be put up to scrutiny, and you don't want to go blue or go with something that's upsetting or topical and not get the laugh, or otherwise you failed. If people laugh, they will figure out why it was okay,
right?
That you told that joke,
right, and that you have to make how shall I say it? Like make assurances that what you're doing and the choices you're making, even in this is hard, but even in the moment on stage, the choices that you're not making out of fear. So that very often you will see a comedian, whether they be a stand-up or making a choice out of lack. And what I mean by that is, I thought maybe I'd get some giggles or some love from an audience that doesn't know me. Maybe they'll give me a little leeway.
Yeah.
And then there's a lack. And so then you start doing like just delivering blue material for no reason, or offensive material because if I can get some reaction from them. So
Right.
you're making decisions out of fear instead of penetrating your partner psychically so that everything comes from them. They're the entire well that you're pulling from. Don't worry about the audience. Mesmerize the audience by having this amazing connection with this person you're standing across from. That will never change. That hasn't changed since the 50s. That hasn't changed since Viola Spolin wrote her book, Improvisation for the Theater. But I think what happens is people make these adjustments on the fly out of ego. And then
that's when you get in trouble.
That's when you get in trouble. That's when you get in trouble.
In improv, yeah. Absolutely. I mean, we part of our job as comedians, when we talk about sketch, movies, all of it is, what our heroes, our comedy heroes did, which is, you push the line, but you give it enough love and attention that you do it right. And if you can figure that out, then you can, that's the true value of comedy is helping people, reconcile all the horrors and the dark things about the human condition and humanity, in a fun way.
Yeah. My friend Wesley Morris, who wrote for Grantland for a long time, he wrote a great piece about you guys
Wrote
last
an
year.
amazing piece about us. It
great.
was
I mean,
really
he's one of the best.
Kudos to Wesley.
Yeah.
It was he found things, in my opinion, he found things about Negro Town that I hadn't thought of, and I went, "Oh my God, that's amazing!" The man,
He's great.
observational. It's that was. I know it was about us, so it's hard for me to say.
Yeah,
but it was an outstandingly written piece and so thoughtfully written.
So one of his themes was basically that the way you guys approach race on that show was almost like the legacy of Chappelle's show, like the torch had been passed to you. So who has the torch now?
That's a good
really
question.
good question, yeah.
Whoever wants it, really. I mean, we don't approach race very. I mean, we do the racial humor because our heroes did it. Our black comedic heroes did it, and we look at from our specific perspective. I think we look at all the racial material that hasn't been done yet because it hasn't been seen through our eyes.
Yeah.
It hasn't been explored. So it's a very personal thing. When we do the racial.
I guess there's a better way to phrase that question is there's just kind of a void because there's, especially you look at this election right now.
Yeah.
Your show would have been valuable.
Yeah.
Not just funny, but I think it would have been, you would have had some really important moments on it,
Well, I wonder if one way to look at it is hopefully because of the void, there may be a sense of yearning from some young comedian. And my hope, or comedians, my hope is that the comedians have some set of tools that allow them to comedically look at the situations we're dealing with presently in a responsible way.
You know what's filled the void a little bit? And the only reason I know this is because my kids love one of these shows, and I have a 10-year-old and 8-year-old, but my kids love Blackish. Mm-hmm. And Blackish and Carmichael's show.
Yeah.
Both of them,
Absolutely, yeah.
They've kind of brought back what we grew up with in the 80s, the very special episode, but it's much more well done than that. But
Right.
Blackish really goes a couple
those are
places.
great shows.
You know?
It does.
And
So
it's
both of those
thoughtfully.
shows work. No, that's a good point, Bill. Yeah, and I think that both of those guys, Kenya and Gerard, are being very brave, and they're doing it in a bigger arena.
With
That's
almost
broadcast
like,
television.
Yeah, almost like a higher degree of difficulty in a way because it's so hard to just be interesting on network TV.
Yeah, on network.
So many
yeah.
obstacles.
Yeah.
You have 40 executives. I mean, how many people gave you guys notes by year 4? Did you even get notes?
But we got barely any.
They just
notes.
let you go, right?
Yeah.
Just let us go.
I think one weapon. It's not to weapon. One tool that you can use is that those 40 executives. Look, everybody wants to keep their job, and everyone's trying to do the best, and they want the show to be good. But they're giving the notes, and I think I've said this before. I said sometimes you just show your holster.
Yeah.
Just show your holster. So if Kenya and Anthony, in the most discreet or the most positive way, can just show their holster, which is the way of saying, I'm not going to pull my race card.
Yeah.
I'm just going to make everyone aware that I have one. And then let's work out what your concerns seem to be about this page of dialogue. And I think that's what they're doing, as opposed to there being any kind of outrage. And for some reason, they're writing episodes so well that the executives have to go, this is good. It's funny. I mean, you know what I mean? Let them do their thing.
And then when they get feedback for it, then now you can go, because it's like, oh, people love that. Okay, you guys should go keep doing that.
When
but
you
they
get the
have to
feedback,
actually
right.
see the results.
I mean, we had, and our guys, they were great. I mean, they had things that they wanted to do. I mean, really, what wouldn't you say, Jordan? The big thing was they wanted us to have such a specific voice.
Yeah.
And we're like, we promise you, that's exactly what will happen. And they pulled back a little bit and watched it, and then the data came in.
Was it? Do you feel like you were fortunate because you were able to get some reps on Mad TV, which was still a network show, but not kind of the same profile as your own show with your own name on it, Comedy Central?
Yeah, I mean, I think the best thing about Mad TV for me was the learning I got to do. Really kind of got to figure out what TV was about, how to sell it on TV, how to write for TV. So yeah, it was instrumental, and then of course that's where we started working together.
Right.
Keegan and I started working together. So that it was a very, very important.
That was fortuitous.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It worked out.
It was our proving ground, and I was very fortunate to have a front row seat to watch his development.
Yeah.
And watch him turn into the right. There are sketches, and the other thing I really admire about Jordan is there were sketches that he wrote and put a lot of time and energy and thought into that, the powers that be at Mad TV were not responding to. But he's always striving to be better. So I can't think of a single sketch that you wrote for Mad TV that didn't go or wasn't made or produced that you repeated at Key and Peele.
Yeah.
He just moved on to the next step. He's like, that was what that was. That was part of my maturation process. Now I'm on this. Now I'm on this. And so it makes me excited to see, like, where's he going to be in 10 years?
What happens to you guys if in like 2008, Lauren Michaels is like, let's get those guys from Mad TV. We'll get both of them. We'll bring them here. And you're just on SNL from 2008 on.
We'd host. We'd love to host.
We'd love to host it. Yeah. Had we? But you're
No, I
saying
mean,
if
I'm
we
saying
had been on
cast
the
member.
show?
I'm saying if he had hired you guys to be in the cast.
Oh, if back in 2008.
Yeah.
I mean, we'd have a very different path.
Trajectory. Yeah, I'm not sure
I think this worked out better.
we'd be here talking with you right now.
Yeah, I think this worked out better.
we'd probably still be on the show.
Yeah.
They got them long contracts over there.
Or
You're not.
they get them long contracts. The other weird thing is, yeah, you're right. We'd still be on the show. Even without a renewal, probably. But who knows? In an alternate universe, if we were on SNL in 2008,
Obama.
we may be the next Blues Brothers.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Who knows?
And
Who
don't
knows?
get us wrong. It's like, we both got into comedy. I think the goal was SNL.
Let's get on
before,
let's get on
before we
Saturday
knew
Night
each
I
other.
was
That's
going to say,
that's
that's got to
everybody's
be,
goal.
yeah. I don't think that ever changes either.
No.
But
And if
there's 20-year-old kids now that's probably feeling the exact same
Absolutely.
way.
When you teach improv classes, that's what you're always. I just finished making this movie, and I'm just starting to do press for it. It's a Mike Birbiglia movie called
Yeah.
Don't Think Twice, and this is exactly what it's about. And like you said, it's about Chevy skyrocketed to stardom, and then what's the rest of the group do? And do they start feeding off of each other or eating each other? And that's the exact thing. It's that you're in this environment where you're all supposed to be supporting each other, and then someone gets plucked out of the environment, and then you can't do that comparison thing that Jordan was talking about, which was like, so what are they saying? They're saying he's better than we are. And once that virus gets in there, that's a problem.
The only time it got so thrown out of whack, it was actually like it hurt the show in some ways, was with Eddie Murphy, because he's the best cast member they've ever had. He was like the most overqualified person you ever could have put on that show.
Oh, yeah.
I don't even know how somebody else could have been on that show with him. The guy was like like he was a cross between like Michael Jordan and LeBron and
Right,
Barry
right.
Sanders.
Right,
it was
right,
like
right.
everything
Yeah.
you'd ever put into one person.
And
he
isn't it
had.
interesting that, but if you look at people's paths, that was his moment. And then his moment lasted for a very long time. But look who one of the greatest female comedic voices of all
it's
time is
buried
right now.
on that show.
It's Julia Louis-Dreyfus.
Yeah.
And buried on the
And she was like 20.
20 years old. And remember, she used to do sketches all the time with the guy. His name was Gary Kroger.
Yeah.
Remember Gary Kroger?
It was her. It was those two and Brad Hall, right?
And Brad
They were
Hall
like a threesome.
and Kazarinsky.
Yeah.
They all got pulled up from Chicago and like
Yeah.
just. It's the worst time. It's like, oh yeah, I've got my surfboard. I'm ready to hit the water. SNL, and then you didn't know. There wasn't a guy
There's
named
a
Eddie Murphy on a
tsunami.
surfboard. He was the tsunami. He was
God.
the tsunami that just his talent just couldn't be denied. It was
Yeah.
ridiculous. Yeah.
Incredible. And also, the timing was just perfect too. I mean,
Right.
it's this, and when
Yeah.
we talk about race, it's like we need black voices out there because there's a lot of comedy that white voices can't do.
Right.
And so, Eddie Murphy coming out and all of a sudden sort of making fun of culture, making fun of the culture of the way that baby boomer generation grew up, with like, there's a comedic take on buckwheat. It's like
Right.
that's the kind of thing that was just like stretched like a rubber band and ready to pop off. And then here we go. We got all of a sudden the best stand-up comedic actor comes along, gets the shot, and it's just
he's like
it's just
19.
murder.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean,
He just yeah.
straight Khmer Rouge.
I wrote
Just
a
murder.
giant piece about him when Tower Heist was coming out. It
Yeah.
was supposed to be the Eddie comeback. And I thought one of the reasons he succeeded was like when I was growing up, I'm a little older than you guys, I think. I'm 46.
Oh, you're a year older than me.
Yeah. So there was this whole run of like television shows with like black families and black
Yep.
characters.
Yeah, the Norman Lear stuff. Yeah.
By 81, it was over. And like the only black people on TV were basically George Jefferson, Arnold, and Isaac the bartender.
And Isaac
that
the
was
bartender.
it.
Yeah, yeah.
And it was like the networks were like, here you go, Black America. Here are your three characters. And then Eddie shows up on SNL, and it was like a tsunami. And
Yeah.
it was like he's
Could
tapping
not
into
be denied. Yeah.
everything.
Well, the whole vibe of that show was so rugged and not ready for prime time. So
Right.
by the time they got him, it's like this is the black guy who's not ready for prime time. Watch out. He's gonna.
But he was so ready for
But he
prime.
was very-
he was already
he was
ready
very
for prime.
ready.
And he was talk about the timing, right? You were so fortunate that he never got plucked by a multicam.
Oh,
that
yeah.
would have destroyed him. That might have or actually he was so undeniably talented.
Yeah,
I don't think
I
nothing would have stopped him.
can't imagine one thing he wouldn't have.
No, yeah, and
Although Best Defense stopped him. That was, I guess,
best
the only
defense
one.
that did stop him for a
Although
little
he
bit.
just did
yeah.
that for the money. I don't blame him for that. They cut him a nice big check.
Never in the same room with Dudley Moore.
That's right.
That's what the thing was. Never in the same
They
room.
paid
with
him
They
late,
paid
right?
him late,
Just
yeah.
he shot all these
I never
different.
saw this one. This
Yeah.
was so.
It's terrible.
It's a bad.
I think
movie.
Eddie paid to destroy all the clips.
Did he really?
Interesting.
Yeah,
Oh,
I think it's one of
believe
those.
he did.
I
yeah.
believe any rich actor, like if there's some bad movie they made, I think they just buy it
They
out.
just buy it.
There's no side
No,
of it.
yeah,
Clooney
it's-
has a couple. I think he just bought out.
I wonder. I challenge all three of us or anybody in this room. We should go online and see if there's a best defense clip. Like, did he get them all?
Or you think he just
Or
cleaned
is
it
there
out?
one on YouTube and there's a clip from Best Defense? He was like a tank.
I paid. I was like, I don't care if
You
the
went
reviews
there.
Eddie's in it, and then you just became
Like,
sad.
this is bad.
He came in trying to do Eddie stuff.
It's hands down the worst movie he
It's
ever
terrible.
made. Ever made.
Well,
and,
he-
and
the
that's
90s
saying something with
Yeah,
that guy's
see, no,
career.
The
Peele
90s were
Nash.
rough.
Yeah, see that.
The 90s were rough, but I think Best Defense was even worse than some of
Did
the
he
other
ever
ones.
reach out to you guys?
No.
No. We've
I don't
never-
think so.
Never met him. Never met him. No.
Yeah, I mean that'll be a real humbling experience to meet that guy.
When did Obama reach out to you?
2012. He was here for a Clooney fundraiser. And
Because he has a good sense of humor. I
Great-
imagine he watched the
great
Luther
sense of
thing and was
humor.
just like, I like these guys.
That's
Let's
me.
bring them in.
Yeah. Yep. Oh yeah.
The photographer, man, Pete, the White House photographer, is the person who introduced the president to Obama Luther. I remember he like about tripped and fell down trying to get over to us. He was like, "I'm the guy. I'm the guy. I'm the guy.
that-
I
that-
get
I
the
showed it
president
to
an
him."
iPad. I showed it to him. He
Yeah.
was just losing his
No,
mind.
apparently they would play poker games and pass around the phone with our bits but the fact that he responded to the show. I mean, to us the coolest thing was that he sort of anointed Luther as saying something that rang true to him.
Yeah.
Which is kind of, more than we could have asked
Never
for.
bargained for it. We had no idea that was going to happen. That was
He was the
amazing.
first president that nobody knew how to parody for like basically almost his entire first term. People were like, "What do we do with this?"
Oh, yeah.
we do.
I mean, look what we did.
Yeah.
What we did is he just does a dead-on perfect impersonation of him. And then
Yeah.
we had another surrogate character.
You
Do
had
like
alter ego.
we had to have
Yeah.
an alter ego. Like, how else were we going to do it? Yeah, yeah.
The only other one who really Pharaoh does a good impression of him, but I thought The Rock, when The Rock did basically The Rock as Barack Obama, that kind of tapped into how Obama can sound so lyrical sometimes when he talks and almost like a preacher, and The Rock did that, and I thought that did a nice job of hitting something.
Rock also has that magic.
They have,
He's like,
and they have a similar voice. There's similar timbre
that's
in their
what I
voice.
liked
Yeah.
about it. I was like, oh, this is good. But I had we were shooting test shows for the HBO show, and Obama's speechwriter was on, John Favreau.
John Favreau,
He's a great guy, and he was talking about how Obama would, he's basically in this bubble. He's got all these people around him that are just doing jobs for him and
Right.
very deferential to him, obviously. So the way he experiences real American life is through sports, through books, through TV shows, and he ends up, kind of gravitating toward, like, he plays golf with the PTI guys all the time, Wilbon and Kornheiser.
With Wilbon and Kornheiser, right?
They're just
right.
buddies because he watches them on the treadmill and he feels like those are his people. So I'm sure
I did not know
I think
that.
he just reaches out to different
realize,
people
I
that
can
resonate with
pretty
him.
much hang with anybody I want.
Right.
This is cool. All right, I get
great.
this. I get it. This is the president, huh?
Yep.
Let's send Key and Peele over. Let's talk to these guys.
That Hamilton show I love.
I want to see Hamilton.
yeah.
Let's
Yeah,
bring
let's-
those guys in.
Yeah.
Can we have Hamilton do the show in the bedroom? That'd be great.
I noticed he's in a commercial now with Steph Curry, which was clearly Obama just being like, I just want to just have Steph Curry. I just want to hang out with him for an hour.
Right.
Right.
Can we just-
and I
can we
think he
come
did
up
the
with any
commercial
sort of
recently because
commercial?
Curry went to the White House and went to the Rose Garden.
Yeah.
And they played horse.
Oh, yeah,
Which is
yeah.
crazy.
I think he just wanted to extend Curry's stay as long as he could.
As long as he could.
So,
Ask him
let's do a
questions.
commercial.
What about
doing, man?
LeBron? What's going on with him?
LeBron. Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
It's
cool.
I could tell you're kind of secretly a sports fan.
I love
Because you were rattling off the 04 finals.
Yeah, I mean, well, and also just a Detroit sports fan. But I love.
Okay.
I've always loved sports because sports I watched as a child. You watch how the big thing is how it brings sons and fathers together.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You have this disparate relationship, and especially if you're my age, like it's just fathers for the most part in general. But my dad and I, it was his friends and them liking sports, and it's part of it's part of why I went to Penn State, because one of my dad's best friends loved Rosie Greer.
Yeah.
And Jack Lambert and Jack Ham, and loved all those guys because he grew up in Pittsburgh. So all of his stars were Penn State stars, and then they went to this. People went to this, like Franco. For Franco to be at Penn State and go to the Steelers is an amazing thing.
So you saw the Ed Marinaro TV movie about the Penn State running back and his brother who was. Remember that one?
Which one? The Ed Marinaro.
John
was
Cappelletti was
Oh,
that?
Cappelletti,
Yeah,
who won the Heisman Trophy.
Yeah.
John
And his
Cappelletti,
brother
yeah.
was like it was one of the original tearjerker TV movies.
Before Brian's song.
Yeah, it was kind of like the Brian song ripoff. Yeah, I'm ready for more of those.
Watching them connect in that way, being a little boy, and
Yeah.
watching those two men connect that way was interesting. And then I'd say, well, I'll watch the Pittsburgh Steelers, even though I've been a diehard Detroit Lions fan most of my life, but it was because these men I was watching grown-ups get excited about something. And
That's what's missing with this. My son's generation is when I was a kid, I just wanted to hang out with my dad, and my dad watched sports, so I love sports because of my dad.
Because you did, right.
Now my son's like, I'm gonna go on YouTube and watch the 25 best wrestling finish moves. And I'll see you guys in an hour. It's
But
like,
then
wait,
he
you
can,
wanna
but then he
something
can,
good with me?
right? But then he can also watch whatever he wants.
Yes.
it doesn't even have to be wrestling. It can be anything he wants, and it doesn't have to. Right, and it's not with you.
He'll stumble on you guys eventually. Right now he's still in.
He's at 8 and 10.
He's 8, so he's like 2 years away from you guys. But right now he's in the whole he's banged out every Kimmel prank. Because on YouTube it's just if you watch any of your sketches, like the next 3 are on the right side. You just go for 3 hours.
Sure.
So the Kimmel pranks is just one after.
Just goes one after another.
8-year-olds just like if you guys really want to make $700 million, you should just study all of the beats of all the Sandler movies.
Right.
Where
Yes.
it's like people who have to take a shit but can't find a toilet, and people getting attacked by a small dog, and there's 20 beats. Like that's your
thing. That's your
$700
There's
movie.
the
You
science,
just hit
huh?
all the beats.
Yeah.
The 10-year-old knows about us though. Usually 8-year-old and 10-year-old? Or you just
No,
have
the
just-
8-year-old boy is 2 years away from knowing about you.
But
The
you also have a
10-year-old
10-year-old? The 10-year-old girl. Oh, I wouldn't see why she...
almost ready for a couple.
Yeah.
Gotcha,
I
gotcha.
would say of
If you were going to show
starting
her...
to get comedy.
If she's getting comedy, you were going to show her a Key and Peele sketch in this time of her life. Would you show her... what would you show her? Hats?
I think she'd get soul food.
She'd get soul food? Okay.
I do.
Oh, really? Interesting. Interesting. Okay.
She'd get the ones where people are playing off each other. I don't know if black guys she would get.
Yeah. Well, you
Like
know,
she would get the Obama one, like
one-
that, like the ones that are easier to understand because 10-year-olds still aren't that smart yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you know, I think one of the things we love about how our show was received and how it worked is because it was a family thing.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of sons and daughters and fathers and mothers that watch the show together or show each other things. Now, you know, for me, I remember watching In Living Color with my mom.
Yeah.
And whenever something, you know, first of all, you get a good, when she would laugh at something I wouldn't get, I would get a little bit of an education as to why that was funny. And then there were, you know, if something sort of crossed the line or it's basically a great way to have a family experience, but also kind of educate because
Right.
a lot of things will warrant a conversation afterward. And it can be with this fun, not awkward tone because we've broken the conversation open with this silly scene.
Don't you feel like every funny person had one funny family member from them when they were like 7, 8, 9 years old? Because like for me, like my dad's family would always be around, you know, opening presents for 4 hours, and my dad would always make fun of the people. Like his brothers and sisters. I was like, someday I'm going to make those jokes. You know, and you try it. You're
Yeah.
6.
You
so
would
you're
say that, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was like, someday I'm going to be the funny one.
It's the little boy that it's playing Eddie Murphy at the beginning of Raw, the
Totally.
cold open in Raw, and the one uncle's like,
Yeah, it's like,
"Oh, that little boy funny."
Yeah.
And getting that kind of feedback from an adult is magical.
Yeah.
It's magical.
you make the adults laugh, you've made it.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I won't be showing my kids? Keanu. I'm going to avoid that one.
We wanted, you know,
There might be a TNT heavily edited version that might be sustainable in like a year and a half.
You know, I mean, it's to each their own. I'm okay with that because I like the idea of making a movie that is kind of like a kid's. The kid gets to go download.
It's like they sneak in when
they
the parents
sneak
are
in.
asleep. They haven't watched Keanu.
That's like
Dad's
Amazon
asleep.
Women
Right,
on the
right,
Moon
right.
was for me, you know, where it was like you were just getting to see
Yeah.
something you weren't supposed to see.
You'll have a lot of people who shouldn't be watching this.
Oh
who
no,
will
this
watch it.
I have a
there's no
feeling
question.
that Keanu is going to go the way of Deadpool. Do you know how many 8, 9, and 10-year-old kids have
Yeah.
seen Deadpool?
Right.
Because their aunts and uncles and their grandparents are just going, you know, it's the superhero movie. And he does. I saw the commercial. Did some flips and a girl punched a guy across the. We'll take Junior to that. And I'm working with somebody right now, and she's mortified because she let her mother take her son to the movie. And I'm like, you got to
which
Deadpool.
one? To Deadpool, yeah.
So she doesn't want her mother in the final analysis. She wouldn't want her mother or her son to see the movie. And then a colleague of mine and I said to her, whatever you do, don't see it, because if you feel bad now, you're gonna feel horrible when you're like, oh my god, my mother. She'll be more mortified that her mother saw it than her son, because her son doesn't know some of that stuff. But you don't have a sense of it. I mean, dude, Bill, we got a kitten on the poster. There's
Yeah.
gonna be 10-year-olds seeing this movie.
Yeah.
You know, and they're gonna tell their friends to trick their parents
Well,
into
you're
seeing
gonna
the
get some
movie.
pet people because we have this crazy pet fanatic on the Ringer staff.
Yeah.
Mallory. And I told her I saw Keanu. She's like, "How's the cat? The cat doesn't die, right?" She didn't care about it. She just wanted to make sure
Yeah.
the cat was cool
Yeah,
and pretty
that
and
the
the whole
cat
thing.
doesn't die.
No, yeah,
Wow.
we didn't have the balls to kill a kitten
Good
in
idea.
our first film.
Not
idea.
even like, you know, National
That's our only
Lampoon had us
spoiler
on
alert.
there.
Yeah.
The gun to the
Spoiler
puppy's
alert.
head. We
The
couldn't
kitten
do
makes
that.
Well, I thought it was really good. I
Thank
really
you, man.
liked it. I really enjoyed it.
Thanks a lot. That means a lot,
It reminded me of some of the movies I grew up with
Yeah.
way back when, like a modernized version. Who was, by the way, last question, then we got to go. the girl.
Tiffany Haddish.
High C.
High C, yeah.
Yeah.
So where'd she come from?
Tiffany Haddish. She's a stand-up. She's on the Carmichael Show. She's been grinding at it at stand-up and developing this really amazing act. And she's
Because that was a hard part.
hard part.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
She has to be grounded,
But it has to be a little sexy, but it has to be like totally street. And
Yeah,
there's a whole bunch
Mm-hmm.
of elements to it. I don't know if the movie works as well if that actor
Oh,
sucks in
no.
that part.
It was key. It was key. And I mean, she's of course, she's sexy because she is such a badass in the movie. And it's like, it's sort of like this. There's this sort of role reversal with her and I and our romance where, she's kind of the protector.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm
You're the
I'm the damsel. Of
the
some
damsel,
sort,
right. That's the word. She's great and light and goofy in real life, but she's also legit. You feel it come through the camera.
I felt like a little star-making performance in that one.
Absolutely.
Oh no!
If your movie hits big, like I think there would be a lot of stories.
She's
written
gonna
about her.
skyrocket. She'll be on something. I imagine really good things are about to happen to her.
And the other big winner, I think, is George Michael. Without giving too
George
much
Michael.
away, I think.
Yeah,
George Michael.
He's,
I mean, did you have to make sure you could clear all that stuff before you?
Oh yeah, we did.
Yeah.
Oh no, we had to. Yeah.
We asked.
Without giving anything away, he's featured.
Yes, he is.
He's an important part of the movie.
Yes, he is.
He's the
Yes, he is.
spirit animal of the movie. Ironically.
Yeah.
That's a great way of putting it. Yeah, Jordan. Yeah.
And of an animal movie. So that's an achievement.
I think it's a good move for him to have allowed you to use all those.
You never lose
choices that you made.
You cannot lose when a person has a sense of humor about themselves. This could very well be George Michael's. This could be his Tom Cruise Tropic Thunder moment.
Yeah.
Did you saw Tom Cruise and you went, what?
Right.
He can do that too?
Right.
And then once he did that movie, you go, and now I even like him a little bit more because he un-Hollywooded himself
Right.
when he played that role. And George Michael, this could be that kind of turn for him.
Good luck with the movie.
Thanks,
Thank
Bill.
you.
I
man.
really think it's going to do well. I'm excited.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thanks,
it's going to be
man.
fun to
Thanks.
watch it go. I'll be checking the Rotten Tomato scores for you.
Okay,
and read them for you.
all right.
And good luck with all your other stuff.
Thank you
Thanks for
very
coming
much.
here. Appreciate
Our
it.
pleasure.
Yeah.
All right, thanks to Key and Peele. Remember, Keanu opens on April 29th. That's a Friday. It's very good. You should go see it. Thanks to Squarespace, whether you need a landing page, a beautiful gallery, a professional blog, an online store, or whatever else you want to do online, you can do it on Squarespace. It's all included, as well as 24/7 support. If you start your free trial today, squarespace.com, enter offer code BS to get 10% off your first purchase. Thanks to Books.com. This Mother's Day, send mom the best flowers of her life. You can even tell her that they grow on the side of a volcano, and you won't be lying. Prices start at $40. No upcharges, no extra fees, free delivery when you register. Save 20% at Books.com with promo code BILL, BOUQS.com. Thanks to HBO for giving us After the Thrones and Any Given Wednesday, my new show, June 22nd, Wednesday night, HBO. Thanks to The Ringer. Subscribe to The Ringer's newsletter at www.theringer.com. You can also check us out on facebook.com/ringer for a little extra content on After the Thrones and the NBA playoffs. And then finally, our Channel 33 podcast feed has a bunch of good stuff this week, including multiple NFL draft podcasts if you want to get ready for that. Channel 33, it is kicking butt. I think we're in the top 20 in iTunes yesterday, which I was psyched about because we launched that thing a couple months ago. And some great content to come. Enjoy the week.
Anytime y'all want to see me again, rewind this track right here, close your eyes, and picture me rolling.